The story's about the four women that live together and they love each other. And they're kind of the leader of the group is a runner. So she goes out running. She's out, she probably does 10 miles a day. So she's running through, she starts, they live in my head, the 3200 block of O Street. So she'll go south towards the river and then she'll, catch the Sino Canal and she starts running. Typically, there would be witnesses everywhere, cameras everywhere. And there probably were cameras, but they didn't report it to the police. So she goes running. Nobody really sees her. There's nobody really around. She gets attacked. She comes home, and the girls have to decide whether do they report it to the police. Addie is the kind of person who does not report to the police something like that. She just doesn't, she just wants to forget about it. One of the things that I noticed, especially with female victims of crime, when I covered crime news, a lot of them just kind of blow things off. Oh, this is just, oh, I got away and I'm safe. I'm fine now. Nothing happened. This happens all the time. Um, so I'm just basically using things that I've run into. I know that, if she fought back, I know that the person jumped out from her from behind shrubs. I've seen those. I know the boathouse where she's near. I know the hill. Um, I know the police probably would have kind of blown her off. I mean, there would have been a report filed, but they would have never found the guy. So, I mean, Addie's right. Um, the police come to their house that night when it starts to snow because Josh Egan did not show up on set for his live shot. And the head of the news department called his friend at the chief of police. The girls don't know this. This is just what I know as a writer. Typically, that doesn't happen. Josh Egan is a very important person. His father ran for president. He is a local celebrity. The police do not want anything bad to have happened to this guy on their watch. So they show up. So these are all kind of things that, and I remember my editor said, well, wouldn't they wait a couple days? I'm like, no, not for this guy. He doesn't show up for a live shot. That's money. I mean, he is risking his career. That would never happen. So those are all sorts of things like the sort of insider knowledge that guides you to the, I don't know, what do you call it, totality of circumstances in the opening of a novel. You just sort of, the world, the way that people will react, that rumors of Josh will just sort of blow up all over the city. He came from a family who had a very tragic end to his father's campaign. There's a bit of a Kennedy-esque feel to him, even though he's not at all. I mean, it's not that big of a family, but in Washington, he's a big deal, and people would react to everything, and it creates this kind of spotlight on the girls that is really unfortunate. I thought of the Sweeties mostly because my daughter was leaving for college at the time. And I kept worrying about, it was during COVID, and I kept worrying about her being far from me. She had actually thought she would go to Georgetown. She decided to to upstate New York. So that was even farther. And so I kept thinking about, oh, how different her life was going to be than my college life was, just because of COVID and all the other things. I want to write about my children. I have a pact with my children. I do not write about my children. So I had to push it ahead to postgrads. And I was really fascinated with this idea of four very close friends that have this kind of legacy of love and stories they tell each other. It's kind of claustrophobic how close they are, but it's also so warm. They're like a family. There's a leader, Addie, who Lucy loves more than anyone and would do anything for. And they all just sort of think about the friends first, the way one might think about a family. And they look out for each other, and they share clothes, they share food, they live very closely together. And it's all very claustrophobic, and they think they know who they are. They don't necessarily. It's so fun. It was so fun because first of all, I put them in just a rundown Victorian. We've all seen them, on O Street with the cobblestone streets and the trolley line, and it's just beautiful. It is really beautiful and is so expensive. And this kid, Lucy, who is like the one who has the least amount of money, she's up to her ears in student debt. She can't afford it, but she wants to stay with her friends. And they live in this really great location where, Healy Hall peeks over top of their roof. So they're never far from school. They never quite break out into adulthood. They're still kind of stuck in between places. Um, I love the location. I love that neighborhood. I love that it's close to the river. And Addie is a runner. So I put her on the C&O Canal. The book opens with a snowstorm's coming, which is hilarious because we haven't had a snowstorm in DC in like 15 years. So, I mean, 6 inches would have closed down that entire city. But, a snowstorm's coming. Everybody's kind of like on edge. Addie goes out for her daily run like she always does on the C&O Canal, which is my favorite place. And it's a welcoming place. And it always has so many people on it, except for right before a storm. So she goes out and this person accosts her. I have covered so many stories. And actually, the Chandra Levy story that I covered way back in 2000 was basically a woman goes out for a run and she gets attacked. And I don't think that people understand actually how often women get attacked as runners. If you talk to a female runner, she'll tell you, she's been catcalled, she's been, sometimes grabbed. I think it's for whatever reason, it's one of the more dangerous things for women to do. And I loved it being on the C&O Canal because, first of all, it's stunningly beautiful. For anybody who wants to check out Washington, you have to go to the C&O Canal. It's got the beautiful Potomac River. There, farther into Maryland, there's a place called the Billy Goat Trail where I love to climb, and there's so many rocks, and that's what kind of gave me, you climb up on these big granite rocks, and you have to go through a path, and that gave me the idea for their kind of hideaway. That there's this place that they like to hang out. It's just really beautiful. And then, of course, I got to put Josh. I wanted to put him off of the canal, a quick walk. So I stuck him in the Watergate, which is a famous building. And so these things were all fun. I sent them to my favorite restaurant. They got to go to my favorite coffee shop. It's like, I called it, I told my husband, I have to go down to the Blue Bottle and get a coffee. It's for my book. It's just a beautiful city. And that's a remarkable part of it. One of the best things that I got to do as an intern at Channel 5 News in Washington was the reporters would come back with their interviews and they'd say, I need you to verbate this, which is basically you just sit there and you type up the whole thing. I have, I have dialogue is second nature to me because from the time I was, gosh, I don't know, 23 years old, I was, typing up and you listen, TV is all about um, cutting the right soundbite. And so I learned how to cut things down and make it sharp and make it quick, finding the part of the dialogue that matters the most. The toughest thing I think for me at that time, is to write young women. They do have a different way of talking. There was a shorthand to the way some of these women spoke with each other because they're in close relationships. And there's a lot of stories that don't need to be told because they already know because they've told them a million times. So there is that aspect. I'm also a terrible eavesdropper. Like when I go to the coffee shop, I'm listening all the time. Like I went to the coffee shop to write and I sat down, this was just last week. And I said to the barista, you're new here. I haven't seen you in a long time. She's like, oh, I've been furloughed. And she's like, oh, also, everyone in this coffee shop has been furloughed. So I took my laptop and my thing and I just listened to, and it's just astonishing what you overhear. I mean, I don't think no one was telling any major secrets, but you hear how people talk, you hear how people are maybe suffering or worried or scared, and you just get it from eavesdropping. This structure I struggled with a little bit. It's different than my first book. My first book was all first person narrative, and I wanted to do first person and third person. So I wrote and then I had to throw it away and then outline and rewrite because I wasn't getting what I needed about Josh. So I had to go back in and rethink him. So I think the answer is a little bit of both. What I've learned about writing psychological thrillers, though, is that I really want to do a lot more planning. The book I'm writing right now, for example, I did so much more planning, just 2 months of sitting down and just working out, what was their mistaken belief? What is the actual problem? What is the ghost that they're carrying around that makes them this way? So I did a lot more of that. And then I sort of settled into a deeper, longer outline. And it's just so much. I feel like I've learned my lesson.